Hello again, everybody. Long time no see. Going to be taking a look today at the Groupees Build-A-Bundle 45. This went on pre-sale for $1.50 a few days ago, and it is now available for buying the complete bundle for, I believe, $3, or you can just pick and choose the titles you want based on the recommendations I'm going to give. This is a very quick review of each of these games. There are some really great ones, there are some okay ones, and there's just a few bad ones. Overall, this is a really solid bundle from Groupees, probably one of the better ones I've got. So enjoy the video. Thanks. Illy is a simple 2D pixel tile puzzle game where the goal is to fill all the tiles green, and the last tile you touch has to be the exit itself. The game has no tutorials, and it doesn't need one, as the gameplay is simplistic but fun. There are 60 levels total, each one getting a little more different than the rest, and it does add in different gameplay features such as portals in the later levels. As with all puzzle games, there reaches a point where I'm just too dumb to get any further, but I do recommend this game to people who enjoy puzzle games. And this is a short segment on it, but this really was a fun game and I did enjoy it. Amazed 3D is a 3D maze and puzzle game with a small backstory that the main character is stuck in a dream on the day before Christmas. The game starts with a splash page full of text on how to play the game, which isn't really the best way to teach someone how to play the game. You want to teach it through the mechanics. After playing the game for a few minutes, I figured out the gameplay has two components. Each maze has an exact amount of steps you need to take to reach the exit. If you go any more or any less than what the game wants you to take, then you lose that match. And the game gives you 3 hints on how many steps it thinks you should take. It gives you 2 hints for free, and then the third hint you have to buy using in-game currency. The second part of the gameplay is the actual game itself. You're taking steps in a maze, and you have to, as I said before, you have to take the exact number of steps, but you have to plot it out exactly to reach the maze, and there are different traps along the way. And really, the only thing the traps do is they make you wait. You just have to wait until the trap goes down for a few seconds and then go over it. It's a neat game. I like the premise of it, but adding in the part where you have to guess how many steps the game wants you to take, it just didn't feel necessary. This is a cautious recommendation to anyone who likes puzzle games. Galactic Fighters is a 3D space shooter that claims to be one of the most difficult shooters in the world. I can't verify if that's true or not, because after the second level I just couldn't bring myself to play it anymore. The enemies move forward towards you, and they move up, down, left, and right. And you can move up, down, left, or right, but you can't move forward or back. The enemies just come towards you. That's the only option there is. You can fire lasers at them. You can fire a missile on cooldown at them. The issue I had was that the aiming just seems completely off. Some ships I couldn't hit them no matter how hard I tried to line up the shot. My laser would just completely whiff, and it seemed to be an issue on the vertical axis. Just lining that up exactly wasn't possible, or at least wasn't possible when I played it. This made the game feel like the only thing I really had control of was moving my ship, and honestly that's pretty boring. I don't recommend this game. Keyhole Spy Teachers is a match 3 game where sexy manga characters are drawn on the top right hand side of the screen as you progress in the game. There are power-ups on the bottom of the screen that can be used on cooldown anytime you need help matching up the 3 different tiles. As you're playing, some tiles will start flashing, which means if you match them up with something, it'll clear off an entire row or column. The manga girls being drawn, they start as stick figures and they progress to an outline of somebody, and then they draw the picture, and then it gets colored in, and that's when you finish the round, is when you've gotten enough match tiles to fill up the meter bar that's underneath and get the final picture. The meter bar underneath the character does slowly decrease, which applies some pressure to find a match, but honestly the game is just super easy. I never even needed to use any of the special power-ups it has. The music for it was quite a surprise, as it was very chill, and I liked the music quite a bit. This is a recommendation for people who like easy puzzle games and don't mind, or perhaps even like the addition of the manga characters. And in case you're wondering, there is no patch to add nudity to this game. Nightingale Down is a casual RPG where you play as a deer who's been tasked by his clan leader to investigate a local human settlement that's getting close to your homeland. This is a casual RPG with visual graphics. The overworld of the map is very similar to the Secret of Mana in the way it looks, but the style ends there. The actual battles itself don't necessarily look the same. You begin by talking to the wise cow who sends you on a quest to find Julian, a sheep who's the only animal ever to have been in contact with the humans before. From there, the quests continue in a similar style with tasks to find, new animals who give you small tasks to do before sending you on your way. The RPG gameplay itself has you controlling the deer, which you can name, and you choose what stats to level up. There's random battles and scripted battles, and combat is taking turns doing your moves, and then the enemies get their turn. On your turn, you can pick between 3 different attacks: a basic attack, a stronger attack that does damage to your health, an attack that deals damage and also heals you at the same time but uses up your limited spirit, and finally there's an option to use different items. Your character gets EXP and Karma at the end of battles, which can be used to level up your different stats. There's actually too many stats to choose from, and the points to level them up don't come in quick enough to pick everything. I chose to go with a well-rounded stat distribution of attack, health, and spirit, while foregoing some of the more complicated stats like luck, agility, resistance to special attacks, etc. The game moves at a nice pace with about 20 minutes needed to clear out the first zone. The story isn't going to win any awards, but the RPG mechanics are fairly solid. I recommend this to anyone who enjoys RPGs with whimsical fantasy settings. The Orphans Soul is a visual novel with branching story paths, an inventory system, and health points. If you've ever read a choose-your-own-adventure novel, this game shares many similarities. The story is about a young girl who was abandoned by her parents as a child under an oak tree. A couple who could sire children found the girl and raised her as their own. Jump ahead a few years, the girl's a teenager now and wants to find her birth parents. The girl has 20 health points represented by a heart on screen and can collect items in her inventory. Every few screens you'll be presented with a choice of what to do, such as running from monsters or exploring a different path. Some choices bring danger, treasure, safety, a combination of both, or they just advance the storyline. For example, in my playthrough, I chose to explore a cave which had a centipede inside. The centipede did damage to me, but I found silver coins. I later used the coins to bribe a guard to get into a city. The background artwork is well done, but the character artwork doesn't fit it well at all. The characters have that uncanny Valley of the Doll effect where they look realistic, but they don't quite look realistic enough, and it's very jarring from the rest of the game. The music, however, is beautifully done and fits the tone of the game. I'd recommend this for someone who enjoys visual novels. Rapstar Tycoon is trying to be a sim where you manage your Rapstar career by balancing resources like money and 2 other resources that look like a t-shirt and a microphone. There is no tutorial of any kind to help guide the player. I created an EDM album, and the game prompted me for multiple options while I was making it, such as balancing between lyrics and flow, anger, and other options like that. After making the album, some of my stats in the top left corner went up, but I don't understand how the choices I made creating the album related to the stats. After making the first album, I didn't have enough shirts to create a different style album, so I went and worked a few jobs, there are 3 of them to pick from, which come at the cost of moving the calendar ahead but give you some money to spend. Is there a limit to how many days I have to make my rap career? I have no idea because the game doesn't give any indication, so I don't know if I'm just messing the whole game up by working jobs at the beginning and then I'll run out of time later. This could be a fun sim game if there was any sort of guidance offered, but as it is now, it's not intuitive as to what the making the rap albums do, and it's just a hard pass for me. Starfleet Academy was the grab bag game in the bundle for me. There are other games out there you could have got, but I don't know what they are. When I first saw the title, I thought it was the new Star Trek card game that's being given out in other bundles, but thankfully that wasn't the case because the card game is free to play. Star Trek Academy is an action flight simulator using footage of the original Star Trek actors. Starfleet Academy was originally made in 1996 and uses the style that was popular back then of full motion videos. You play the role of a Starfleet Academy student using a Starfleet simulator to play out different missions. After a lengthy opening video sequence, your first mission is clearing out mines from space. I'd recommend this game to fans of the original Star Trek or anyone who enjoys the FMV action games from that time period. The only negative I found was that the control scheme was very archaic and required using letter combinations that aren't intuitive, with nothing on screen to remind you of what buttons to press. In Tales, you play the role of Alfred Wash in this point-and-click fantasy adventure game. There's a lot of spoken dialogue in the game. Every conversation between Alfred and another person is actually voiced. The game was made in 2016, but it harkens back to the old-school point-and-click adventure game of the 90s. The dialogue and characters do a great job of walking the fine line between comedy and drama. There are puzzles to be solved, some of which require using items that you pick up in your inventory and you keep them for a while and use them at a later date. There's a catalog system in the library where you can look up books and you'll actually be transported into those books. The fantasy soundtrack matches the game well and it is exceptionally good. This is a definite recommendation for anyone who enjoys point-and-click adventure games.
My name is Merlin.